Artificial intelligence is expanding every day in its roles in the various businesses and industries around the world we have. And Nat, with Finn.AI, you've created a platform that's all about conversational bots, and you're targeting initially the banking industry, where there's all kinds of interactions going on between customers and the retail banks around the world. How does Finn.AI help a bank improve those customer experiences?
We're entering this really exciting time where we're entering an AI-first world, which means that data becomes increasingly valuable. We can apply some analytics or some tools to it to be able to get good predictions. And if you look in the financial services sector, there's this huge amount of really, really valuable data that banks can leverage to help people manage their money in a much more cost-effective way. So we really see AI as a way to help people manage their money. And the mission of our company is to improve the financial well-being of 100 million people by 2025.
How does the experience interacting with a conversational bot differ for me as a consumer versus the traditional chat environment in the contact center?
So it's quite a different experience. First of all, you should know that you're speaking with a virtual assistant or a bot and not to a human. It's important when you're building trust that you know what you're dealing with. Second, you should be able to get answers really quickly for basic low-value questions. Still, the number one thing that people call the call center for banks and most banks is, how do I change my password? That's a really expensive operational call for a bank, but pretty low value overall. But with virtual assistants, you can feel lots of those low-value questions. And then I think the other thing that's interesting is you can do a lot more predicting. So it's the cost of making a prediction based on past data goes down. And so you can start to serve people back the data of what might happen or when their cash flow might change. And then I think something that's interesting that we're seeing across the board with the world of virtual assistants is that it's a safe place for people to have conversations that might otherwise be awkward. So something that actually surprised us was that the first thing that anyone ever asked any of our virtual assistants when we went live was, I can't pay my credit card this month. What should I do? We didn't have an answer. We handed it off to a human, but now we've learned that you can actually help coach people and help people in those situations and open up conversations that might not have otherwise been possible.
And you're seeing people actually be more comfortable in some cases interacting with a digital assistant versus a human.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's shame associated with it. And the reality is most countries, we don't do a good job of helping people understand their basic financial well-being and what it means. Schools don't teach it, many parents can't teach it, so people don't necessarily have a strong understanding of how they should manage their money, but they're embarrassed to ask, so a bot can help service that. Now, the bot's not always the best way to solve that question, but at least if you have an opening, you can have an empathetic human step in and help coach them.
And why financial services for Finn.AI? Because obviously these conversational relationships and virtual assistants could apply and do apply across a multiplicity of industries and opportunities. What got you zeroed in on financial services to start?
I love getting to work with banks. Today we work with banks across 4 continents. Retail banking is very similar regardless of where you are in the world, and banks are some of the most powerful and meaningful institutions that exist. And in fact, in one of the markets that we work in, South Africa, because we've been able to reduce the cost to serve, the bank that we work with has been able to open up accounts for previously unbanked individuals because now there's actually a business case for banking with them. So we're excited to get to make it an even bigger market, but it's already a very large market. So I think 1, it's an interesting market, it's powerful. 2, there is a really big need for consumers in terms of helping them better understand and manage their money. We do have a crisis around financial literacy, financial well-being. And banks are also looking at how they can improve their level of service. And part of that is reducing the cost to serve with call centers, but also moving up the value chain and adding value on top of the data that they currently hold.
And so where do you go next from financial services? Once you take that over and you expand to the unbanked population, what's the future hold for Finn.AI?
We're really happy in the financial services space. There are so many banks, 7,000 banks in the US alone, but we can work with banks across in almost any country. So that in and of itself is a huge market for us to tackle. Within banking, there's lots of different verticals. We focus on retail banking today, which is the largest vertical with the most amount of activity, but you can equally move into wealth management or insurance. But we really are focused on building out the best natural language processing model specifically for retail banking. And we've got a team of 60 people who worry all day about making that the best it can possibly be for all of our banks.
And to do all this, you're going to need a lot of capital. You've already raised a lot of capital. How have the investors looked coming into the business over time and going forward?
We are so grateful. We've had the most incredible group of investors who have supported us from day one. We started the company 5 years ago. When we look at investors, they are truly part of our extended team. We've got great partners from Vancouver, Yaletown, who's down the street, from Toronto, BDC, Women in Tech Fund, which is the largest tech fund in the world, and have done an incredible job at promoting really wonderful companies, but also expanding the ecosystem and making it possible for different types of entrepreneurs to access capital. And then also groups from Seattle and New York. So investors from a little bit of everywhere who've all showed up for us and are really part of our journey.